Hello and welcome back to Module 4 of this online course. Again, I am Jennifer and I was your instructor for Module 3 as well. In this module, we'll be focusing on guided practice and independent practice, two more stages of the effective instructional sequence. In this presentation, I hope to answer the questions: why, who, what, when, and how do we use guided practice in our instruction? First, why should we do guided practice with our students? Well, it helps students internalize the new material. Tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may remember, involve me and I'll understand. The involve me part of this quote is exactly what guided practice is. It is the point in our instruction in which we get the students to start using the new material. Besides helping students to internalize the new material, it also provides students with the opportunity to use the new material in a non-threatening environment. Students need to feel they can ask questions and make mistakes, that the teacher will not be mean to them or even sarcastic, that their classmates won't make fun of them for their bad pronunciation. In my Spanish class, I use something called Casa de Amor, or House of Love. It's one of the rules in my class, that when someone makes an error in pronunciation or mistake in grammar or they're nervous up front, I don't want anyone in my class making fun of them. Instead, I tell them over and over again, this is a house of love, and we need to support each other here. Another reason why we should do guided practice is that it provides students with student-to-student interaction. The point of learning another language is to be able to communicate with others. With advancements in technology, students become so used to communicating via text messages or online chatting, or through Facebook, MySpace, and they are not developing as well in person-to-person interaction. World language teachers provide students with opportunities to practice the language with each other, and they are also improving their personal skills. And finally, it is to provide teachers and students with constant feedback, checks for understanding. If we never provide students with time to practice the new material, and instead we move straight from direct teaching of the material to testing the material, we won't know where the gaps in learning occur. We need to make sure our activities are scaffolded in a step-by-step manner that gets students to reach the designated learning targets or objectives. By monitoring the students during this guided practice, teachers can see what they may need to reteach or provide students with more opportunities to practice. Next, who is involved in doing what in guided practice? The job of the teacher in this section is to be the guide on the side, and the students are the ones using the new material, whether it be vocabulary, language structures, culture, to complete the tasks. What is guided practice? Well, they are activities for the students that are tied to the unit objective, in the target language, structured, familiar, linguistically safe. The students are not creating with language in the step. They are using the phrases we have taught them and they have heard and are already familiar with. We have already given them all the tools they need to try this new language task on their own in this very linguistically safe environment. And these activities are also culturally authentic whenever possible. Guided practice activities are also structured in these three ways, which progress from mechanical to meaningful to communicative. First, mechanical guided practice activities are activities where the use of language is purely manipulative. Understanding is not essential for response. Activity is an artificial use of language. So an example of this might be practicing verb conjugations, or copying down a vocabulary list multiple times, perhaps copying a Chinese character over and over again, or repeating after a teacher to practice pronunciation. The second type of guided practice is meaningful, where the response is predictable and the understanding of meaning is essential for the response. This activity is a more realistic use of language, albeit in a controlled environment. An example of this is a survey with questions written out in advance by the teacher, or A/B partner activities where there's an information gap between the partners. And finally, the third type of guided practice activity is communicative, where the response is now unpredictable and the understanding of meaning is essential for response. New information may be exchanged here, and this type of activity is based on authentic use of the language. So an example of a communicative activity could be where students tell a story, or they ask questions of a partner that they have written and the partner does not know what will be asked. The response from the partner is also unpredictable. Or, for example, students talk about what they did over summer break. Now, we don't want our students stuck in a mechanical phase where all they can do is walk down the street in Paris, France, and recite a series of verb conjugations. That will get them nowhere, and they will miss out on so much. What we want them to be able to do is interact with the local people, ask for directions, go shopping, make friends, and so on. So it is important to progress from mechanical to meaningful to communicative as quickly as is possible. Now, here are some sample guided practice activities. For example, for speaking, students are provided with a list of 10 questions to ask their partner about their family. This would be a meaningful task. A listening activity, where after learning the numbers, students play a game of bingo where the teacher calls out the numbers. A reading activity, where students put sentences from a story they already read into logical sequence. Or this writing activity, where students write a guided composition in which the teacher leads students through the composition with sentence starters. Students will select appropriate individualized information to complete these sentences. Next, when should we do guided practice activities with our students? As frequently as possible throughout every lesson. Today, class, we are splitting the class into 2 groups. Blue team gets an A if they can make 1 perfect pot. The red team gets an A if they can make 20 pots. So the blue team is tied up debating, hey, we should start with the handles. No, no, no. The red team gets busy making. And then time for grading. Red team, you made all 20, and this last one is perfect. Blue team, don't worry, practice makes perfect. So this just shows that guided practice activities are the safe, controlled environment where students are able to practice over and over and over again this new concept, this new material, and hopefully by the time they get to the end, they're ready to move on to the next step in the effective instructional sequence, the independent practice. And finally, how are guided practice activities used? First, the teacher must model the activity. Now, either the teacher can model it, or they can get a couple of volunteers up front to help model the activity, but it should be modeled first. Second, the students do the activity, whether it be a writing task, listening task, speaking with a partner. And during this time, the teacher is walking around the room and monitoring student progress. Third, review the activity as an entire class. And fourth, make adjustments. Perhaps the students need more comprehensible input to fully comprehend this new material, or maybe they need more guided practice and they're not ready yet to move on to the independent practice.